pretty.
Okay.
I'm never ready, but I make it up as I go along. You know how that goes.
That's already fantastic, I think. Okay, wait. Let me do this. Okay, I already had this open. Very cool. Okay, so wait. Let's quickly go to where our plan is unfolding, which is here. And I don't know, did you already see this? I put this together as like a process board, so we can make that available to people if they are interested afterwards in like the whole workflow and stuff.
Yeah, it's great. Very cool.
Okay, so today's 16th, so we're on time. It's happening. And we are going today through short user interface introduction to Marvelous Designer, fixing the garment file and overall pattern fit, opening Alana in DazStudio and showing how to pose her, export Alana to makeup to character creator. That one we only do if we have enough time to do it, because it's kind of its whole own workflow and it's not super relevant, right?
Okay.
Utilizing her pose, so essentially bringing her back into Blender. Yeah.
Cool.
I think we're just gonna start, aren't we? Because why
Yeah,
not?
let's go.
Because why not? And here for reference, the cool mood board. So we're kind of like striving for this kind of pose, isn't it? So
Yeah, that's one of the better ones.
yeah, and the other thing we should probably do is look into existing textures we might be able to use. I think that's something we should also do probably when we're fixing the garment file. And let me check quickly. Planning. Okay.
Stupid question.
Oh, board. Okay. So
On these, you're talking about posing.
Yeah.
Don't you guys have those motion capture suits things you were talking about?
Oh no! First of all, we don't have one.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought
No, we don't have one yet. Because the main problem with that is who gets it, right? Because that's the one person who needs to consistently keep doing this. And we weren't really sure who would that be, because I'm already doing so many other things. So I was like, no, I cannot also keep like doing that, right? So since no one was found, I was like, okay, maybe this is not the right time. And then I don't know if you guys saw, but on Rococo, which is like doing the, they make one of the best motion captures. What the hell? Rococo motion capture. Let's do it the old way then. So they make one of the best motion capture suits, right? Which are out there with, smart gloves and face capture, body capture. So their product is like one of the best on the market. But additionally, they just came up with, isn't this cute? Oh my God. They just came up with motion capture AI. So you can do, I think it's actually this functionality. So you take a video of yourself, and then with their software, you can actually translate the recording into motion capture data. It doesn't always work perfectly, but they have a lot of tools available here that you can use to tweak the animation. And they have also created a Blender add-on that you can use for simple import into Blender directly, which is fairly nice. So
which is kind of where I was going with it. So I mean, as long as you can get up and dance, you got the moves, I'm sure. I mean, you don't want to see me. I got 2 left feet, and
I can do it at least as well as he can, I think. I hope. I'm not sure. No, but for us, honestly, it is much less like work intensive to just get like one pose done in DAS. To be fairly honest with you guys, this is definitely easier to do than trying to bind motion capture data for like one pose, and especially because we cannot fly, right? And we're trying to make something where it looks like she is flying. So, you know, it's better to pose it by hand, to be honest. Also, it needs some tweaking, but it's okay to do. It's not horrible, right? So that is good. Okay, first things first. We needed to decide on some shoes. I'm pretty sure you don't like specifically those. So I got you another option as well. Just in
It's just
case,
fine.
you know?
It's the landing that's tough.
What?
That you can fly just fine. It's the landing that gets tough.
Yeah, that is very true. No, but I also installed those. They are not as high, but this is to your preference, right? So you have to tell me essentially, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at those other options that you have there.
Yeah, let me
I mean, I don't mind high heels, but
let me actually get rid of those, right? Like let's just undo them, and let's just try the other ones on.
yeah, that's cool. I like the track underneath the soles.
From your mood board, I figured you were going for something that's close to this. So yeah, I figured.
Yeah, cool.
No, sounds
Awesome.
good. Sounds good to me. Okay, let's do quickly the user interface introduction. I don't know how much experience do you have in DAS?
I have downloaded it. I've just got like the Genesis pack, like very, very rough. I don't actually know too much about it, so happy to learn.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I would just like also maybe for people who will be watching this later, a quick intro, because I mean a full intro literally you will get if you watch the Alana X Fabricant playlist, and I think you had seen this. I think, but yeah. So point is, best way to install the DazStudio is literally through their tool called DazCentral. This is the best way to install it, because then you have everything in like an overview. And everything just like it's nice to have it all in one place. Also, you can essentially browse the assets that you already have. I keep telling this to people, but I'm not sure if everyone is aware. DazStudio by itself is free. You can use it. There are restrictions to how you can use the avatars, so be aware of it, right? The assets also come with different licensing. So if you want boots like this, for example, you actually do have to buy them. They are not included. There are some starter essentials included, but not everything. The one tool I really want to mention, because it's been like, oops, sorry. This is why this is so fragmented. So the one thing that you can also, by the way, you can try and install the Blender Bridge from within here. I was never lucky with this, so cannot recommend it. But the one thing that I'm trying to find is, man. So there is one asset that I always recommend, honestly, and this is the Shapeshift add-on. So this is in the beginning, the only add-on that I ever bought, right? Because with this, you have influence on every little piece of the body of your avatar. And this makes life just so much easier. So this is also how I shaped Alana. So she has no standard body, but you know, I shaped like every little inch of it. So if you don't want the base avatar and you want to have this kind of liberty, you would need this add-on. Otherwise, sadly, the only other way to do it would be to sculpt it by yourself, which is quite the intense process. It's absolutely doable, but this one definitely saves a ton of time. So just wanted you guys to be aware of it. Okay, and then after you've installed, you can open it directly from within here. So click open. Mine is already open, so won't be doing that. And normally you're presented with a blank scene. So the first thing you would want to do is you would want to try and load, let's just quickly do this for the sake of, yeah, so normally you will have a scene like this where you have the cross in the middle and nothing else. So you can load in one of the starters, starter Genesis 8. This is usually what I go for. I wouldn't recommend to use Genesis 3s. They have a lot of limitations. So yeah, you can load one of those in. This is how I started working on Alana. And literally go from there, right? And there are a ton of add-ons which, you know, allow you to make stuff like more perfect or more like in one direction than the other. And you can see like already all of those things that you can use. You can, you know, let's go for something very obvious. Let's go for legs. Okay, this is always funny. So we can make them, you know, less rounded, less round shape, right? We can create more of a gap here. We can thigh inflate. I don't even know what this is. Like, I've never used this before. It's crazy. The inner knee, you can bulge that out. So you have, like, with this shape add-on that I just mentioned before, you literally have, like, there's like so many things you can do, and how you can, like, you know, take influence on your avatar. So okay. Quick explanation of the user interface. So you see those are like little cards. There is also the option to render directly within the software. This is absolutely an option. So for example, I could just do this now, and this is super YouTube friendly. I probably have to make like something on top of here or they will ban us again. But yeah, so you can even render within yes, I would like to cancel. So you can even render within here, but usually you stick within the install tab and the smart content tab. Those are, I want to say, the most important ones to use. Then you have the outliner, which is essentially everything in your current environment and how it's being parented. So in our case, the hair and also the shoe and the eyelashes, they're going to be paired to the actual body of Alana, which is kind of important for things to work. Then there are the shaping tools, right? I just showed them. You have parameters, so you can, for example, you can transform, right, whole like areas of the body when you select them here. You can turn them. So probably also going to use some of them for posing, but not a lot, because we have our own posing tab. By the way, I'm kind of consciously ignoring this one, face transfer, because that's not something we're going to use, and also there are much better tools now for that. So the posing tab literally allows you to pose your avatar in certain positions. So the way to use it is you use this like really weird dial on top of here, and I will share more about that when we get there. And then you have surface, which is about texturing essentially. And after surfaces, there's the cameras, which we're not going to use, and the lights, which we are not going to use because we're going to do all of that in Blender. And lastly, down here is the timeline, and obviously the timeline we're going to use to create not just the final pose, but to create a transition between this is funny. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, let's just ignore that. Okay, so we're going to create a transition pose, meaning frame 0 will have the A pose, so we can dress Alana really easy, right? The last frame, which I'm also gonna, my goodness, seriously. So, okay, so the last pose should be obviously the flying posture, right? That's the transition that we want to happen, so we can simulate the garment well, because if we don't have that transition, the garment will not simulate well, or even worse, you will have to dress something that is fairly complex to dress in Marvelous Designer. Okay, that was a long monologue. Are you guys still with me?
Yes, thank you. I've played with Daz a little bit, but I mean, I assume you obviously you make the avatar in here, and then you take it to Clo, and then you take it somewhere else, or it's quite a little workflow. Yeah, sorry, just try to piece it all together.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's quite a mess when it comes to workflow, honestly. So there's two things we're gonna do from here, right? First thing is creating this motion from a pose to the actual pose we want. That's one, right? And the other one is exporting it from here with that motion. That is one thing. So we have it for Marvelous Designer. But then we're also going to export it from here to Blender directly in the final pose. So those are the two things we have to export. because in Blender we don't need that motion anymore, right? We just need to have the final pose. And for Marvelous Designer to simulate the garment, we sadly need that motion to happen. So yeah, that's the workflow. I know it's a little bit exhausting to be honest. I'm aware of it, but yeah, that's the way we have to go. And
Cool.
yeah, so I think we should probably start by trying to create that pose, and I could definitely use your help for it, I think. I know we want to get here, right? This is where we want to get. But like how to best make it, that is always the tricky question. This is where it is. So I hope you guys have this reference.
Yes.
You have this reference on the board, don't you, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I get my full screen back again. Okay. Cool. So I moved to frame 30, right? We also, as previously discussed, we're gonna actually select the avatar, and we're gonna go to the assets folder, asset folder, wardrobe, right? And then we want to go to, where's footwear, and we want to find the boots that we previously selected, so those ones, right? Cha-cha! Yoo-hoo! And as you can see, they're already automatically, because we selected the avatar, they get automatically parented to the avatar. So now it doesn't matter where I move Alana, right? So if we go to here, right? No matter where I move Alana now, the shoes and the hair and the eyelashes, they all come with, which is like super nice, because in Blender, this is like this whole own extra step to do, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but you have to now obviously like physically move her in such like piece by piece to fit this sort of pose, I guess.
Yeah, but it's a thing.
Wow. Okay, sure.
It's a little bit of fiddling, right?
Yeah.
But let's just try, right? Like we're probably gonna fail a few times, to be honest. So I'm gonna save this file. This is our base, okay? And because I'm the paranoid person that I am, I always make a second copy. So this is Alana base, okay? And this is Alana base post, okay?
Okay. Cool.
So if we fuck anything up, we can always just scrap this file and go back to the old one, which is, yeah, I keep doing this, and it's never disappointed me, so I will just keep going with it. Okay, so I think the first thing we could potentially do is moving this thigh up. So as mentioned before, you have here these like little control colored rings, right? So the I want to say, wait. So the red one, the most outer one is the x-axis. Then the little bit inner one, green one, is the y-axis, and the closest one to this like middle thingy that does everything, which looks absolutely hilarious. Sorry, that is probably the one we want, at least for a little bit. So I'm moving her leg a little bit out, right?
Okay.
Maybe a little bit in, and then woo, right? This is like somewhat what we want. Woo!
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Cool.
And I will keep making sounds with this, just so you're aware. Sorry. I keep mixing them up because they're actually different to Blender. So I'm always so confused about this. It's kind of like hilarious. Actually, the last one can stay, and maybe let's do this, and maybe I think like this. Okay. Then obviously this one needs to go a little bit. And you guys can interrupt me and be like, no, this doesn't look so good. Okay, so feel free to do that. Actually, wait. Let's... let's do this, and let's do this just a little bit, so it looks more humane. Have like
You
a
lean the
slight
whole
bend
body
here.
forward at one time?
What?
Can you control the whole body and just tilt the whole thing like 20 degrees or so forward, like she's flying forward?
Yeah, I should be able to do that. But that goes within not the posing parameters, it goes within the translate parameters. So it's kind of like a different.
Well, I was just thinking that would give you
I
there.
mean this, right?
So that gives you that look, and now you can just align the leg.
But she doesn't. This is actually not good because you're destroying the axis with that. So if you were to ever use it for anything else, she wouldn't know anymore that this line would be indicating this is straight ahead. She would think this line is straight ahead. So instead of going diagonal across the screen, she would go downwards. This is the problem with using, instead of pose parameters, using the translate tools here. It's
Okay.
I'm glad you said something because I wouldn't have known.
no. It was a good question though. Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't. It was a good question. It's just like now we can move this, right? Because we need, like you said, right? It needs to be a little bit more extreme. At the same time, we probably want this to be leaning a bit back, but also we want to turn this. So because in our thingy, all of this is turned. Oh, and also you have a lock, okay? So all of these, see how I cannot move this any further? Like even if I wanted to, I couldn't, right? And so DazStudio does this for you because they're like, well, everything else would be unnatural, right?
Okay.
So
Sure, that's quite intuitive.
yeah, but sometimes you don't give a shit if something is natural or not, right? You just want to have this exaggerated pose. So so the way to do this is to go to edit, and then you can go to figure, and you can go to limits and turn limits off, right? If you do that while selecting the whole avatar, it turns off those limitations. But actually, we don't want to do this right now. We don't want to go beyond limits. I'm just saying, if you guys ever want to do this, I get it, right? It's fair to want to have control over stuff. So you have to go here. If you want to symmetrize, we're not symmetrizing today, but let's just say we want to have a very, stay look, and let's do a pose like this, right? Where everything is like very, very similarly aligned, almost robotonic. Then you would want to symmetrize one half of the body to the other. This is where you can find that. So in edit figure, you can find a lot of those tools. They're super useful. Just making you guys aware it's a thing. Because maybe
I have one question, sorry, Stella, just quickly. That little gizmo thingy that you're playing with at the top left there, is there a way to change its view or anything at all? It just looks so complicated. Was that the only way you can use it?
I swear to you it's not, okay? So
Okay.
I really want to give you, like, how can I show this maybe in a bigger... I'm thinking.
I think it's just because it's like the top view. It's like maybe because I've used Blender and I see like the axis switches every time you click the Y or the minus Y or the Z or whatever. But like this is like a ball from like the top view, and it's like, I don't know, it's just weird.
It's a very weird tool. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I just want to make this like bigger so I can show you guys in bigger, right? Let me just quickly try and do this. So this is the gizmo in DAS pose control, and wait, let me. I know, it's so weird. Okay, wait. So here we can hopefully... Okay, so this is how the tool looks like, right? And all of these rings represent a specific axis, right, on which you can turn. So all of those actually do translate to rotational values, right?
Okay.
But all of them translate just one axis at a time. So you can use those three and do it like me and be a little bit slow but very precise. Or you can be, like very adventurous and use this gizmo ball in the middle, which essentially turns it to all sides at the same time, depending on how you touch this like little sphere in the middle. But yeah, this is how it actually looks like. I'm so sorry. I think it's also partially, this is like a very high screen resolution. So I would think you guys probably see this like very, very small. Sorry for this.
No. Just
But
curious. But I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah, so, I could also try and do it like this. See? I would get to the same like result, right? But it's for me personally, it's hard to do. Something that you can also do at some point when you're like, satisfied with like one thing is you can pin. Wait, you can pin translation, pin rotation. So let's just pin everything on the hip, okay? And now whenever, like, let's just say whatever I select here, right? It will not influence anything else necessarily. Like, I think even if oh no, not the whole thing. Okay, never mind. But yeah, you can also pin stuff, which can be useful, I think.
Okay, cool. Wow, it's actually it's way more like, I don't know, I don't think I've played enough with it, but it's not that difficult. I mean, I think Blender is probably the learning curve for me, but this is actually quite intuitive. I'll definitely play with it some more.
I promise you can get used to all of these things. It's literally, all of it is just getting used to. I told you before, and I will stick to it. It just takes some time to get used to all of these different tools, right? This is This is like the only thing that can be sometimes really, put you on a struggle with this. But yeah, also let's maybe get this a little bit more out of the. Oh no. I think something like this is probably.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, she's not looking too bad, is it?
Okay. Yeah, that looks cool.
Look at us mastering this. Okay, and now the question comes, because we don't have hands in the sculpture. So we actually have no idea how the hands are supposed to look like. Any ideas for the hands or arms?
Let me quickly hop on and have a quick reference just so I can have a look. Let's go with...
I'd bring them in slightly closer to the body, but not horribly far.
Yeah.
Maybe a third of the way in. Slightly more than that.
No, for sure. This was only the shoulder. I only need to do it in steps.
A little bit more out than that. I mean, just tiny bit.
Like
there.
So? Yeah?
I think both of them approximately there would be close to right. Because you got to figure you're going to be trying to control the air, but the air is going to be pushing against you as well. Have you ever done free fall?
No, just bungee jumping. Does that count?
Air pushing against you is no joke. It does push.
So we keep consistently striving for a persistent look here. So probably this isn't terrible. Probably. I don't know, maybe rotation, huh?
Rotate the wrist so that the hands cut into the air instead of push against it. Otherwise, it'll be pushing her hands backward. So she's cutting the air. You know, like when you're driving down the road, you put your hand out of the car. It whips your hand backwards versus when you put it sideways and then you cut through it.
So you want me to go closer? Like more in this direction?
Like that. That's probably... I wanted your hand twisted sideways so that it was slicing the air, not being pushed backwards by the air. Otherwise, it's going to push her arm way behind her. You see what I'm saying? Aerodynamics.
Aerodynamics. I'm not getting it though. I'm getting aerodynamics, but you want me to turn the... Can you translate to rotational values, please, Vlad?
So that the thumb is into the wind.
Oh, Oh yeah,
Does that make
thumb should be.
It wasn't
closer.
earlier. It is closer now.
Got you.
There, the hand of the thumb is into the wind. Because right now the way it is, the air would just push her arm right up into the thing. She'd have to fight with that constantly, not to be having her hands above her head.
Okay. So how about this?
The whole hand
How
at the
about
wrist.
making it very close, like?
Right, I'm thinking the hand at the wrist is what I'm saying. The thumb of the thumb of the hand is what I was.
Sorry, Alana.
It was a nice view. I'm not worried about that. I was more worried about getting the wrist right, though.
Okay, so we essentially
Sorry, I
we need
couldn't
to
resist.
turn this. No worries. We need to turn the whole arm, I think, right? Isn't that it?
That works too. The wrist would have been fine, but the whole arm works as well. Just so long. There you go.
Yeah,
Now see, she's
that's
gliding
nice.
along.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
You're
nice.
right. That's all I
Yeah.
was trying to get at. Now I'll shut up and leave you
Awesome.
alone.
No, don't shut up. This is good. This is really, really good. This is really helpful. I was thinking pushing that arm a little bit more forward, maybe. But yeah, just the shoulder, honestly. It would be nice to have some kind of like upper movement
Yeah,
here, but I don't
it
want to
would be
go
cool.
too Superman.
No.
I don't know.
It wouldn't be too Superman if it bent the elbow slightly. You could still put it up in the air, but bend the elbow.
True. Yeah, that could be quite nice.
Oh, shit. Sorry. So like this. But then like making it. Oh, shit. Sorry. Making it more like this. That looks weird.
No, wait.
Help me. Flat.
No, look.
Do, 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 do. She's dancing. She's
What a
dancing
rave.
with one arm.
It was better when it was straight, actually, to be fair. I don't know. More elegant, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. If up is right, it reminds me of something.
It looks a little bit out of balance, I guess. Okay,
Yeah.
undoing. Okay,
It's a
let's
bit-
try this again with arm down.
Yeah, I think so. Looks a bit dictatory.
And maybe, oh, sorry.
Yeah, actually, what? Yeah, that's not too bad. Put back.
Right? And then maybe, actually maybe not like this, but, actually,
That's kind of cool. Kind of ethereal. Like, I like how it's down. She's like almost like pushing, like leaping. Like,
yeah, but there's something.
I just realized I've been talking to the mute button all along.
Oh,
If you've got it down like that with her wrist forward, or with her hand forward like that, she'll be fighting into the wind.
yeah, no, I don't want to leave it like that. I'm just trying to
I'm
figure
not
out.
trying to argue with you. You can do that for a short period of time. You just get tired quickly.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about this. I'm just like, I'm figuring out if, I mean, we will only see it from, like, this is gonna be the perspective, right? But even with this perspective, thinking that, you know, this is our reference, right? It might look a little bit, I don't know. I feel like something is missing. So either this arm should go more to the front and this one more to the back, or vice versa. It's a creative decision, essentially.
Lift her right arm
Huh?
slightly. Lift her right arm right arm,
The other one?
your other right. Your military right. I'm such a jerk. I should have said that. I'm sorry.
What is it with people and German jokes with me? Seriously?
Well, it wasn't that. It's just I was gonna do the private pile and do a Full Metal Jacket joke, but I left that alone.
Oh, I'm suffering. No one is gonna rescue me though. Yeah.
If you pull that forward like that,
No,
the wind. Yeah.
no,
there
let's
you
not
go.
do it. It looks really really weird to do that, and also it will hide, you know, the silhouette we are trying to create here. So I think we need to change something else. I'm not quite sure yet what, but
I would say that arm right there is fine. It's
that
the
one is
other
fine.
one.
Okay.
I think that one's fine. Uh, if you're gonna do anything, that's that second. It's that right arm. It it either needs to go up high, where the wind is pushing it up, or it needs to go back behind her where the wind is pushing it backwards. It looks funny because to hold it where she was at, she'd need to be Superman.
Yeah, how about we just hide it?
That works too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? How about we just turn
I mean,
it?
unless she's floating in the air at like 3 miles an hour because she's a blimp and just, kind of hydrogen blimp, floating along like the Macy's Day Parade, then sure. But if she's actually flying with a headwind, there you go. Now that looks really good because it looks like she's trailing the
Yeah.
debris trailing behind her and
Yeah.
she's letting it float through her fingers.
I agree.
Yeah,
Now
that's
we
fine.
have a dynamic. Okay. Cool. Saved. Okay, cool. So I think what I sometimes feel is like the hands are highly underestimated. So let's make the hands nice, and I'm not even going there. Like I have my own library for that. So let's just go there and see if we can find something cool. I think.
wow.
So it has a ton of different hands. Turn limits off for this one thing. I think this is quite nice. Are you guys okay
That's
with
quite-
that?
Yeah, that's nice.
Sure, but since you've got it all posed where you want, don't you want to pin that thing so it don't move? After everything we went through to put it where it goes?
Oh no. It's okay. It's not gonna move anywhere. And this one we definitely have to.
Okay, just call me paranoid.
No. You're good to be paranoid. This is like totally legitimate to be paranoid about this. I think. Just making this a little bit less extreme. Is that okay?
Nice. Very cool.
I think it looks great. Only thing I see that might need some work is, well, her hair's kind of funky. And it would also be blowing behind her as well, but I know hair's difficult to play with.
Oh yeah. The hair always looks maybe I should have also explained this. So in the upper right, where you can change also between different perspectives, and you can use the move tool, and you can use the zoom in tool, and all of these cool little gadgets. This is also where you find, and yeah, that's safe. This is also where you find these cool things. So you can look at this through bounds. Solid bounding boxes. So if you have in fact not a great computer, right, to get this into a rough shape, these things can also help you. I'm not saying the one that I just showed, but for example the wireframe could do, right? People who are entirely crazy, they use texture shaded, or even worse, NVIDIA iRay preview, which is a thing. So we can look at this, right? This is how this looks in preview mode. And this is also where you can see, okay, the hair actually looks fairly good. It was just the fact that, I had a preview mode, which I like to use. It's called smooth shaded. So
The hair looks
smooth
good
one.
if it's standing still.
Yeah, no,
You're
we can actually wait, let me think. You're not wrong.
I'm not trying to. If you can't change that, you can't change it. But if you can,
We
and
can
she's actually going through
always
the
change
air,
stuff. Yeah,
I
don't
just
worry.
try
We
to help.
we can always change stuff. But I think this, like the hair specifically, I would want to change in Blender because it's gonna be so much more easy to do. So I
You
think
do
this is what
whatever
we're
you
gonna
need
do.
to, kiddo. I'm just trying to help where I can.
I
Don't mind me
know.
none.
I
And if it's
know.
not for this tutorial, tell me to shut up, and you'll get to it when you get to it.
Yes. No, no, no. It's okay. Okay. So very important next step. Okay. It's we have this now, right? So now we need to make sure we actually save this as a pose on the timeline. So we're gonna hit this like plus key a few times because, you know, I usually cannot make stuff work really well. So let's just hit this also a few times. And now we should, when we play this, yay, we have a rapid transition. Woo! This is
Cool.
all we ever needed and were looking for. So that brings us, after 44 minutes of posing, to the actual thing of dressing Alana and simulating the garment, right? So let's go there. For that, you already sent me the file. So I saved the file that you originally gave me as a V0, right? This is the original file you gave me. And I'm opening up, right now it's just a copy of your original file, but I'm opening up V1 because probably a good idea. Okay. And I'm using Marvelous Designer. A quick thing, and I think both of you know this already, but the main difference between Marvelous Designer and Clo is because they're being actually produced by the same company and they're based on the same technology, right? Is that in Clo you can essentially no, wait, let me start like this. Marvelous Designer has a lot of functionalities that are very specific to creating game assets and wearables, right? While Clo 3D actually comes with a lot of functionalities from the side of physical clothing. So you have a lot of more tools that relate to the physical world in Clo 3D. Also, Clo 3D, for that sake, comes with its own render engine, while Marvelous Designer doesn't come with a render engine. So the best I can do here is go into this weird preview mode, but that's it, right? That's the best I can do in here. So yeah, just wanted to have said this. So I can already tell there are a few things we need to talk about. Okay, cool. Good. So let me do the following. Let's select everything and get this into freeze mode, right? And just like slightly get this for now out of the way. I think for now the keys we're gonna delete for now because we will insert them again in Blender. And obviously I'm getting rid of the original posing figure of Alana. Because now we're going to export our little animation from DAZ, right? And we will bring it over to Marvelous Designer. So the way to do this is selecting the whole figure. So that includes the shoes, the eyelashes, and the hair. But in our case, we're actually going to get rid of the hair for now, okay? So I know, horrible thing to do, but we got to do this because if we do the hair now, it's going to get in the way of our simulation. So for the sake of having that out of the way, let's just go with the figure by itself. File, export, and then utility kit computer, and go to Alana. Okay, Alana simulation. Right, and we're gonna go with an FBX file. That should work just fine. Within the settings, right, it's been a debate all over YouTube between all the different content creators. And I think some of those things are very logical to include, while others are not quite that obvious. So for example, I usually choose FBX 2012 binary because the ASCII one doesn't work. For some reason, it never works with me, right? So this is one thing. Then obviously selected only, right? Because we only want the Genesis 8 female, including the shoes and the eyelashes in our case. Including the figure, that's a given, right? We don't need the props, we don't need lights, we don't need camera. Something that always should be integrated is allow degraded skinning, allow degraded scaling. Include rotation limits and lux is usually helpful. And yeah, this is what I use. I think there are at least 1,000 other people who have different settings. So I'm taking a screenshot of that so I can include it on the map. Okay. Okay. So let's try and see if we're actually doing a good job here or not, because maybe we get something wrong. Okay, let's try and see. File, import, FBX. And fair warning, the FBX does not always work for me. And I think for a lot of other people neither. So sometimes you have to export the MDD, which is the animation file, separately. And I guess we also need to do that, okay? So don't worry, we'll probably have to go through the same process because this is not gonna work. Animation centimeter DazStudio, so it has its own setting that recognizes the format 100%. I think it should be fine. Let's just try and see if it works. It would be nice. No. Okay, so already the binding of the shoes was decided is not working so well. Okay, next thing we should probably just try, for the sake of having tried, is record the animation. Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. Wait, what's happening? Did they change this menu? Oh, this is so weird, sorry. Oh man, did they change this? Now I'm lost. Damn. What the hell? What did they do? Wait, 2D window, property editor, library, history, modular, configure, scene, browser, fabric, button. No. To the 3D garment, show pins. Okay, no. Garment fit, format. I think they changed this, didn't they? Show camera, frame rate. Oh, I don't need to show this actually. I'm sorry guys, this is right now a little bit weird for me because usually this used to be its own window. So I'm a little bit... And now it's not even playing. No, that's okay. Okay, I would just assume at this point that there's no animation file that actually came within here. Because otherwise I would think...
Maybe try to reload since the shoes didn't come over either, right? Maybe
yeah,
there was just
I just wanted to figure out if... but I think there was nothing included, so you're right. Okay, so let's try this again. Export. And honestly, let's try and export this as an OBJ this time. I think. Let's try. Okay. Let's try. No. Ah, this is confusing. I'm so sorry, guys. No, yeah. Let's try OBJ.
Technology, it's lovely when it works.
Yeah. Here we need to select DazStudio. And I just really hope I get this right this time. Okay. And at the same time also export, because an OBJ cannot, by the way, right, an OBJ cannot transport animations. So you need to have an additional file, which is called MDD. Okay, so you have to save that format separately. And just, that's good. DazStudio should be fine. 100% scale and accept. And this is where it does the animation. Okay, let's try this again. So import OBJ, hopefully. Hopefully. The importing, exporting stuff is always the most daunting one, because there are like a million things you can get wrong. So add avatar, right? Centimeters. Let's keep this the same. I'm very sure I needed to switch something here, but for now let's just keep this the same and see what we have to switch. No, we don't. And the shoes came in. Whoa. Okay. Success. Import.
All you had to do was listen to me. Gee, how funny how that works.
Sure. That's the thing. Okay, let's do this. Scale same as before, centimeters. Okay. Okay. So now, aha! This is where I was hiding. Little sucker. Fine. Okay. So now we should be fine. Just putting this back on her. Essentially, mostly essentially. But we also need to do some refitting things. So I'm just trying to get this as good as I can, but probably it will not be perfect. And also doing here, just keeping this to a monochrome surface for now will save probably some render time. And yeah, I can already tell this is not gonna work so nicely. So we have to make sure to, well, you know what? Let's get those things out of the way first, so we can fit one portion of the garment before refitting the other one. So I'm gonna get this out of the way, and I'm gonna say, oh, it's already deactivated, is it? Let's just make sure. Deactivate a pattern ensuing. It just needs to be both deactivated. And like this stuff. So sometimes, if you're lucky, which is not always the case, yeah, those arrangement points, they come in with, and we were lucky, so they came in with. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use that to our advantage, obviously. Have you ever used the arrangement points?
Yes, all the time. So handy.
Right? They're really nice to work with. Let's do this here, and that's this one here, this one here. Okay, should be okay. And let's just like essentially, okay, wait. Let's get rid of the arrangement points now, and everything that we just arranged, let's make that, like, let's unfreeze that, obviously, because only then it can simulate. And also let me check on your particle distance. Do you remember what you said as a particle distance?
No, I'm so sorry.
You just left it.
I don't even know what it was at this. Yeah, I mean, I'd literally just started, so I think I just left it as it is.
Okay, no,
I don't even know what it was.
that's actually really great because, for the beginning, if you, what just happened? Did you guys just see this? Did you guys just see this?
Oh my gosh.
What happened? It turned its own axis and it turned like inside out. Is that what happened?
Wow.
I saw it happen. I know you guys saw this happen too. Okay,
Creepy.
so this is actually something that is that can happen, and it's a little bit like a bug. So we will not be able to fix this, right? So I have to actually revisit where I figured this out, because there was something specific you had to do in order to avoid that to happen. But we will figure it out. Okay, I promise you. Damn. Nonetheless, let me import the same OBJ once more, because I just want to make sure that we go over the fitting of the garment today. And so, wait, did this just all? Fine, you totally screwed me over. Fine, I'm totally feeling offended right now, but okay. Okay. And Astroporcelain, don't worry, I will make sure to record that I like the way I figured it out, okay? So I will not just like do this in secrecy and you will never know what happened. So one thing I just wanted to quickly show is that one thing we really need to do with the garment is showing the pressure points. Right now, obviously, because the garment is not fitted anymore, right, there are no pressure points and everything looks just peachy. But because I saw this when you handed in the graphic here, this part looks very distorted, right?
Yes.
And also this part here, it's supposed to be probably even, right? But instead it looks distorted. So I figured that we have to go over the pressure essentially on which the fabric is fitted onto the body. So that's something we have to go over, and I will record that, don't worry. And the other part is that when I do bodysuits, because they tend to have avatars are essentially made out of stone. This is probably why I like this reference a lot. So trying to fit something on an avatar always means like you have to think of it like you're trying to fit something on stone, right? You're not trying to fit something on an actually like squishy like real life body. So sometimes you need to cheat, is what I'm trying to say, right? So you want this line to not look like it's tearing down all the time, right?
Yeah.
We probably actually need to make this arm. We probably actually just need to make this arm for the sake of the simulation, turn it transparent, eventually delete it in Blender. If we do that, then, well, we get rid of like a lot of things that, would cost you a lot of nerve otherwise. So this is what I would be wanting to try and do, if that's okay for you.
Of course, great trick, thank you.
Yeah, that will help. I already deleted the keys because we have to redesign them, right? That was a challenge. And so, because this would take me a little bit time to figure out, so I would just record that for everyone. But I don't think we should do this now and live, because that will become a little bit boring. But something we should still do is look for the fabrics that we discussed prior. So I already looked into some stuff. One was the nylon tricot fabric. So I was like, this is probably what you wanted to have for this part, for this like net part, right?
Lovely. Yeah. Cool.
Obviously, we're going to change the color, right? That's without question. So I'm going to download this as actually, wait, let me check. Do they only have the SBSR of this one? Okay, fine. I'm going to download the SBSR. So there are two file formats with Substance Designer, right? There is SBSR and then there is SBS. SBS will allow you to open a file in, actually I have this open right now in Substance Designer, and you can actually crack down on, you know, doing like a ton of details as you wish and please. With the SBSR files, such as this one, you only can open them, but they're, you know, for a lot of things, they're just good enough, okay? That's what I'm trying to say, actually, if you're not a texture nerd. And you can open that with Substance Sampler, if I'm not entirely mistaken. And in Substance Sampler, you can then change the color. You can also change some other ingredients depending on, you know, what the designer of this graphic is allowing you to change. But there are a lot of things you can change, actually. So let's... Oh, and then something in my house broke, I think. Okay, let me... Substance Sampler. Okay, let's try and open this. Cannot believe she's doing this to us. You're horrible. Fine, fine. Okay, so we're making a new file. Okay, so we have our, like, you can, by the way, you can replace this with a lot of other things. Just making sure this is the folder. So you can change, you know, for a ball or for like a cube or a rounded cube. I really like to work with rounded cubes, but honestly, if it's just about fabrics, I think the plane will just suffice. And then we should have this file now in my download folder. So not this one. This is one that you can open and you can mess with because I made this. This one is the one that's unmessable. So this is the Trico. And yeah, and you can already see the color input. So the only thing we really need to do is grab this color, right? And input it here. And voila.
Oh, cool.
Blue tool, blue stretchy tool.
Oh, wow.
Cool, right?
Yeah, that's very cool.
You can change those parameters. You can make this like super shiny. You can make it less shiny or not shiny at all. I guess like somewhere in the middle is probably the truth of this. Probably somewhere around here, I think. You good with that?
Yeah, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah? Okay. You can also make it metallic. So that option exists. But you like it? You want to have it metallic?
Another time, another party.
Yeah, I get you. Another time. I think so too. Okay, now you have different options to export this. And I usually export it in two formats, right? Because in Marvelous Designer and Chloe, you can input SBSR files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this with our new title, right? So we're going to call this nylon trico mesh underscore electric blue. Okay. And I'm going to go to obviously the right folder. So usually I do have an extra folder just for textures because otherwise it gets quite messy. So yeah, one thing is let's output this as an SBSR. Okay, that's one part. And usually I keep it at 2K. You can go crazy. I don't think you have to go crazy. So let's export this as an SBSR. And then the second export would be just as the PNGs. So we're gonna create a subfolder, that's okay. Base color is good, diffuse, why not? Normal, roughness, metallic, specular, height, emission, and opacity. We don't have emission, so we don't need that. We do have opacity. So quick explainer, right? What that does, it exports this material in essentially all of these different maps. Most of these maps are grayscale, except for the diffuse and color one. Those have like the blue, right, that we picked. And the normal map, the third one on this list, it will look purplish. I can show you in a bit. All the rest will look black, white, grayscale. Okay, but all of these different maps, they make up a material in 3D, and it would just like pop out and make you feel really excited. So I'm gonna export that. So we're good on that. That material is solved, right? So now I think the other one we need to solve is the actual nylon, and I didn't find something really cool. So maybe it's also because I didn't go through everything. But maybe Astroporcelain, how about looking through those and picking one for the base mesh that you think could be fitting? Usually, like if it has an SBS format, I can change everything. If it is SBSR, we can usually only change color and or pattern. So we have to try.
Okay.
But I think that would be cool if you could, like for next week, if you could try and pick something out. Just gonna put the link on the board so you have access, right? So this is your link to there. This is a paid gallery, right? So for me it's okay because I have a subscription. So don't let them fool you into paying for this, okay? This is not the idea. The other thing is, but it's usually not as super high quality, is there is a Substance 3D Asset Community Gallery. So you can have a look at that as well. But usually for I have seldomly found something there where I was like, oh yeah, this is actually, this is like really on point. Wait, what's this one? Oh, no, I thought. Yeah, so I think this should be the community asset library. And here you can download really whatever.
Okay, okay.
So, I mean, you need an Adobe account, but you don't have to pay for this, as far as I know. Okay, let me put this also on the map, on our super cool planning map. Okay, so let's summarize. Okay, so we need to figure some stuff out. So what we've done, we've done this. Fixing the garment file, this is something I need to do. And additionally to that, figure out the bug of avatar turning. So let me figure that out actually first. Look into existing textures we might be able to utilize. I would just say Astroporcelain is on it. That's what I'm gonna say. Okay, cool. Opening Alana and thus showing how to pose her. We've done that. That is good. Export Alana for makeup. We haven't had the chance, but I will try and show that so that you guys know how we can also do that. And utilizing her pose is essentially the export over to Blender. So we're gonna do this as the last thing for today because I think it's also getting a little bit heavy now at this point, isn't it? A lot of information.
Interesting.
You're still good?
Yeah, it's interesting though. It's nice to see how they all link. And like Marvelous Design is so similar to Chloe. I mean, I didn't always know that, but just seeing it, I mean, even the symbols are the same. Everything's pretty much similar. So
it was really the same everything. There are a few things that are different. So one thing we are going to utilize that is different is, you know how the mesh usually is. Oh, actually, wait. Let me just get rid of the pressure map. The mesh usually for better fabric simulation is triangulated, right? And so Blender hates triangles. Also, we hate triangles because triangles are really, really hard for us to reduce, you know, and keep the same form. So in Clo, what you have to do is you have to go through like the trouble of like, I want to say, edit, context menu, I think 3D garment, and then you have to go to quadrangulate. So what that does is it quadrangulates this mesh from, you know, triangles into quads, but it does it in a way which is like not very streamlined, right? So where does one path start and where does it end? Because they're still triangles. So what you can do, what you cannot do, I should say, in Clo, and you can do here is you just, you know, select your garment and you say remesh, and it remeshes it actually very, very perfectly.
Oh wow, yeah, it does, sure.
Yeah, so if if you want to utilize stuff in AR, for example, right? If you want to utilize stuff in games, like you need quad meshes. You like
Yeah.
triangles are kind of horror. At least to the point of getting there, because you want to reduce triangle amount as much as you can without losing the overall aesthetic. And something that I also quickly want to show is the UV editor becomes now very, very important, right? And because remember our maps, right? They will pre-translate it to the UVs. So we have to make sure that everything is like very neatly layouted in here. So let me also quickly show you guys under textures what we've saved now, right? We saved the SPSR file, and those are actually the maps. So as promised, the base color and the diffuse are essentially the same map, just bright blue. You have the normal map, which has this purplish thing going for it, and it helps with showing reflections. Then you have opacity, which will create the transparent patches inside the mesh. You have the roughness map, stands for itself, the same as metallic and the same as specular. And then the other one that can be important, depends on how you render it, is the height map. So it will kind of let you know how much of a tessellation or displacement effect it should add to the geometry that the texture gets applied to. Those are the maps we just exported.
So do you connect the texture maps in here? Oh no, wait. Do you take it to Blender and then you map it through nodes there? Or
yeah, exactly.
no, I don't know. Okay.
But also in here, right, we can just drag and drop the SPSR file, which is a pretty neat thing to do, I think. So it even comes with additional settings. So if you select it, you can you can say it's a PBR texture, right? You don't have to. You can set it back to 2K, which is nice. You can still influence a little bit of the reflection parameters. You can influence some of the transformation angles. You can obviously load in your own physical properties. So in our case, we can go into the Marvelous Designer library and look at they have stretch sateen, probably not ideal, right? Stretch poplin, probably not ideal. So a little bit of fabric knowledge would be good at this point to make sure your denim stretch, great that it has stretch, but denim stretch will probably not translate. So we should find something that is fairly similar to the material we want to imitate, which I think honestly we're probably gonna be best with probably knit cotton jersey if there's nothing. Oh, nylon? No, I don't think. I think they're very. If we want to check how those different kind of fabrics simulate, we can actually look at here. So let's go to knit cotton jersey, right? How soft is it really? Okay, so it has classification knit, so that would fit. Cotton, content cotton, maybe not very much. Weight is also too heavy. Thickness is a little bit too heavy. So probably not the best fit. So we can go a little bit further. And then nylon. This is nylon canvas, obviously not. This looks fairly good, to be honest. This doesn't look good. This is probably the best. Silk knit jersey. So we're gonna go back into here, into presets, and for now we could just input the silk knit jersey, and it would simulate with that, So
that's
you can change.
Cool.
It's cool, right? A lot of people are not using it, but it's actually pretty dope.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Also something that I like to do, you don't, right, just so you're aware, right, just because I'm showing this, you don't have to do stuff the way I do it. But something I really like doing is making sure that I already lay out things in my 2D window as I want them to be later arranged in as I want stuff later to be arranged in the UV editor. So I'm trying to do this in a way that I save just a lot of space, or as much as I possibly can. So after I've like, you know, finished like rough layout, I'm just gonna pull this down a little bit, everything. Like this, maybe, not quite sure. And so we can use that space maybe here. Because then when you're like ready to, you know, export everything, you can obviously make this this can look so really nice. How you arrange things can be art by itself, to be honest, depending on how many pattern pieces you have. But you know, for us it's just really important to create some space and make sure we maximize use of space. So this looks fairly okay. So now we can press here, say reset UV to 2D window, right? So this is reset, and then fit all UV to 0 and 1. And I forgot one. Damn. You little stray. Not cool, you little stray. Okay, let me make space for that. That wasn't planned.
That's a great trick though, because I've spent ages trying to mess around with the UV window, trying to resize it and get it all into that little access point. But I mean, yeah, that's a great idea, fixing it at the top first.
Yeah, you just save a lot of time with this, I think, if you rearrange this and you know, get like fairly good results. Because here it's like, you know, it doesn't matter anymore. If I put it here or I put it there, I will not be able to maximize this more. And also, I'm this type of person, I try to put this all on one UV map, because often you don't have the space to output more than one UV map if you load it up into games, for example, right? So if you ever download a Ready Player Me avatar, you will see that it consists of just one UV map, because it cannot carry like 3 or 4 different texture maps into games, right? It's just too much to ask, essentially. And yeah, so anyhow, now we can also select all of these blue thingies already and just try out how, like, if all of this would be transparent, right, how would this look like? Because now we can. Sorry, totally getting ahead of myself here. And unfreeze. So now we have this.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Right, this is like a little bit of a different view already, and you know, you can try out if you like it or if you do not like it, and just I think it makes life so much easier, to be honest. Then
that's so cool.
Yeah, I think it helps. Obviously it's not going to be all transparent, but yeah. Now we really need to figure out, like, I need to figure out why the animation didn't work, but I promise you.
Thank you. Sure, that's really cool. That texture, really, really cool.
Yeah. No, textures are, they can really, really do a lot for you. Like, let me actually show you an example. Something I'm working on. Or I've been working on it for a while, but I'm finally getting to somewhere with it. So just as an example, right, like in Substance Designer, you can actually make those kind of fabrics. You can make haute couture embroidery, essentially, just like the digital version of it, right? This is like the kind of thing you can do in Substance Designer, like from scratch, right? And you see here how I've been like building up these like ornaments within Substance Designer, and you know, different archives and so on. I mean, I'm aware this is like a little bit of an overkill, but just to show where you can take this, right? So I made one general fabric. So one of those is the general fabric. And then this is the one here, right? And then I made all of these elements that you then can input into the main fabric and actually like totally change, you know, kind of switch up the game in digital fashion.
That
So
is so nice. That's like the detail on that is just incredible. It's lovely, sure.
it just matters so much, right? And this is something I've been working on for quite a while. And also here you can, you know, if this is like your Marvelous Designer view, right? And then you add like, can you see this here well enough? Probably not. This is
That's
actually
so
a
cool.
pre-render view. So even within Marvelous Designer, right? Like looking at these textures, it's just a different view, right? It looks differently.
So nice.
And
So
then,
nice. Wow.
right, and then within Blender, you can really make sure that all the things you want to highlight in this, right, they're actually being highlighted. That's something that you cannot do in Marvelous Designer. Even though you can render, you cannot have like that much control over the textures in your garment and, you know, make it look like it's really 3D and coming out and being perforated and all of these things. It's fairly hard to make all of these things super visible, I feel, in sorry, in just Clo 3D. This is where I wanted to get at. Sorry.
It's really nice. The textures, I mean, like it's so detailed. That's really cool. Wow. The knit was so nice and the mesh, really, really nice.
Thank you. But this is why I'm, you know, trying to get people to use more like actual textures and instead just putting an image on top and making
Image,
it super
yeah.
shiny or, you know,
Yeah.
iridescent, because I think
Yes, of course.
we need to we need to mature from that now, you know, that like
Yes.
that like iridescence thing that has been going on
Yes.
since I believe Danny Loftus, right?
Yes.
Since like the outfit that doesn't exist or something.
Oh
This
my
is since,
gosh.
you know, that was like what, 2017. Like we need to get over this now. Next step.
So funny that you say that because I was literally like thinking the same thing. I've been seeing it, you know, it's a massive trend still now. It's everywhere. So it's so nice to see like that depth in your digital garments there, like of real digital textures. It's incredible. That's you're right. We need to grow up. That's where we need to be right now.
Sometimes
Got
you
a
just
question.
need to grow up. No, what? What are you saying?
I've got a question.
Yes.
Being German, you're familiar with the Landscanet or no?
With what?
Landscanet, the German mercenaries back in the 1500s, 1400s.
Oh my god, no, I'm not. Who was
Okay, you'll have to see the outlandish attire. Basically, how it all started was when they would get a cut in their hard-boiled leather armor during battle. They would cut a swath of cloth from whatever noble they found laying around.
Yeah.
They had the most decorative cloth they could, and they would patch it from the inside and pull as much of the fabric through the cut as they could to let it show the nicer fabric on the outside. Well, they would end up with the most bizarre cuts wherever they could find them. Well, eventually, guys got the idea, chicks dig scars, that they would just cut their leather armor and pull fabric through whenever they could find fabric. Well, as the style progressed, people were cutting intentional design. And if you've seen this, what they call, nowadays they call it slash and poof. They'll slash the fabric and they do the doublets where the fabric is pulled through.
Yeah.
They've pulled it through. You talking about all the different textures made me think of it. Can you imagine what you could do with all the different kinds of texture you could have in one garment, where you would have it a slick outer garment like you're talking about, with all these marvelous textures pulled through in different patterns, designs, or just randomly like the originals.
That's actually something. It's so funny you're saying this because I'm working on something for Now I closed it. I'm so dumb. I'm working on, where is it? I'm working on a fabric inspired by the Dutch designer duo Victor and Rolf. I really, really, really like this design. Right? Trust me, I'm a liar. Okay, maybe I don't like
Yeah.
it too much, but I just exchanged
I
it
thought
with,
it was amusing.
trust me, I'm a developer, so now it's fitting for me again. So essentially, this comes in different layers to make this a texture, right? I think you saw a piece of that. So modeling, right, those ruffles is obviously part of it, and outputting them as so-called height maps. And there's another outfit by them that I want to do, which actually comes with woven fabrics. So what you're saying, right, like slashed out pieces of fabric strips and like pulled through other pieces of fabric strips. So I'm kind of really, really curious how I will be able to translate that because I don't know yet.
Know how it could be done either, but I tried to get the AI to pull it off and was disappointed. I'm not. Oh, it came up with something very, very nice,
Oh, that's
but it
good.
wasn't what I was wanting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just because it came up with something that looked really, really nice, it didn't come up with. But the original is so bizarre and has such a cool origin story that, you know, I think it would do well, and especially in the gaming era.
Probably.
You know,
Yeah, probably.
look,
You're right.
like I said, it was just one of those things. I'll shut up and get out of it. It just was a question if you knew any way with all of the
No,
texture.
I didn't. Like, please, can you send me the name of the guys again from the 1500s? I have to look this up. I wasn't aware of them.
I'll
No,
get you something
would
that
be
you
cool.
can get you started.
Yeah, that would be really cool. The one last thing though we want to do, right, before we're already, like, I realize we're very late. I'm sorry, guys. But one last thing I want to do with you guys is bridging her over into Blender, right? So steps you have to take is, obviously you have to install the Blender DAZ bridge. That's something that you need. Like I said, you can try and do it the correct way, which would be through through the DazCentral tool. But also I included a description essentially on how to do this if you're not using it, okay? You can also install this manually. It's not as terrible as it sounds. So if you have it installed, you can go to File, Send To, and say DAZ to Blender. Oh, I thought I had, like, yeah. Okay, File, Send To. Now the next thing that's not working. I'm like, no. Okay. It's the Genesis 8 female. We're gonna do the animation because we want to final pose, right? We're gonna export the morphs as well. FBX binary is fine. We don't need to do anything here, to be honest. So let's just get this over. Oh, this looks really horrible when it does that. It scares me. It scares me. Oh, I think it went well. Let's check back in Blender. So ideally, you already have your Blender file, raw Blender file open, and I will go through the user interface next time because we've already talking a lot of user interface stuff. And the only thing you need to do is obviously, make sure you click on your, I don't know where mine is, here. Like you obviously have to turn this on, right, to show up in the N panel. So you can bring this out and in again with N, just the N key. And now that your avatar right now is in a semi storage, right, on your computer. So you just have to click import new Genesis figure, and it will essentially just bring it from this, like, temporary storage over into Blender, which, if it doesn't crash and it works, is a fairly great thing to do. Whoa, and look at this.
Oh, wow. That is
Isn't this
cool.
so cool, right? Aren't we such smart asses?
That's very cool.
So yeah, and the only thing we need to do is obviously fixing some stuff up, right? So you can already tell here's some stuff that, where her feet are poking through. So if we go into, the actual shading, preview, which by the way you can switch between the different shading modes here. So also here you have wireframe, you have the viewport shading, you have the viewport shading with color, and that's the one we want to take a look at to understand better how much of this is actually poking through. So you can tell there's actually a lot of stuff poking through. So we want to get, we want to make sure that's not happening. And I will show you guys how to do this in our next session. But for now, I think we should just be happy that we managed to pose her and we managed to bring her over. And this little thing down here is a fairly cool thing. This is actually, damn. This is a control rig. This is what it's called. So if you want to change stuff, so I want, for example, this is usually front view, right? So obviously I want to make sure that we see this from the front view. Otherwise it's gonna drive me nuts, okay? Also, if we want to, you know, lift her up to the pedestal eventually, right? We're gonna use the control rig for that, okay? So all of these things you can do with the control rig and the control rig only. Very important to remember that, you know, once you use that, this is actually perfect. Okie dokie, we're done.
Wow. Oh, thank you. That's great. That's so nice that she got her pose ready. I'm really excited.
Right? Isn't it cool? And I remember I had this problem with the figure also when I was doing the Fabricant stream. So I'm just going to dive back into, I think I did a recording on that as well. If it's absolutely the same problem, I will just refer you to that video, right? If it's slightly different, I will make sure to make a single recording and put it on our development board.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really cool. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. You know, next session we're going to focus really on the textures. So just make sure that you're, that you have a look at, you know, what will be the base texture, right? I think probably if you're not entirely against it, I was thinking for the abstract flames, right? I was thinking we should probably do like the real feathers, right? Or if you don't want to do the real feathers and you want to stick with this like abstract fiery thing, right? Then we could maybe go and make an embroidery out of it. But it depends, like, you know, maybe think about it if you rather want to have like the golden feathers, which could be really, really cool. Or if you want the other one to be a texture, that would be good to know.
Might be quite nice to have, like, I don't know how difficult it would be to make the feathers because it's quite different. I don't think I've seen that too much.
Oh, none of this is really hard to make.
No, okay.
No worries.
Okay.
We're gonna essentially make one feather, for example. Then we duplicate that feather, let's say 5 different times, right? And make slight, you know, changes in it, like scale it up, scale it down, make some pieces longer, some pieces, you know, stuff like this.
Okay.
And then we're going to take it essentially as a height map into Substance Designer and we go from there. And for the flamey thing, it would be the same process, right? Model it in Blender, bake it out, bring it over. It shortens the process a lot if you do it like that. If you make shapes directly in Substance Designer, like I did for, you know, the embroidery fabric I showed you, you can totally do that. It just takes so much longer.
Yeah, okay, I hear you. I mean, yeah, the feathers would be sick, I think. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I wouldn't mind seeing some feathers, real feathers.
I'm all for it. Let's do fucking feathers. Why not? You know, just why not? Like in our case, honestly, because we're doing this as essentially like just a render, right? We could even go and I don't know, do a particle system with the feathers. So instead of turning them into a texture, right, make them actual feathers onto this strip of fabric, right, and make the fabric just a nude colored or golden tulle.
Yes, that sounds so nice. Wow, that sounds so nice.
You have to do thinking. Just do thinking.
I'm going to Pinterest it up. I'm heading to Pinterest. I'm going to do it.
Sounds
cool.
Good. Awesome.
Thanks, Taylor, for the session today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You earned it. So yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
See
for
you
your
next
time. And I
week.
love your earrings, by the way. They're very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. See you next week. Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Bye,
Bye.
Vlad. Bye.
Hey, so I didn't figure out the bug because I didn't have to. So what I did instead is the following because I think that makes so much more sense. So as before, I got rid of the hair because it might get in the way, and also we might want to get rid of the boots. So just leaving it like that. And we're gonna select obviously the full avatar again, and you see the pose of the feet is still the same, so that is great. And we're gonna say File, Export, Alana Simulation, we already had that, as an FBX, save, yes, I wanna replace. These are all the parameters that I'm gonna select. I'm gonna take a screenshot as a reference of this. So whenever you're trying to do this, maybe you can print this out, or I don't know. Could be useful, maybe it's not. And we say accept. We're gonna have this run in the background, which is great. Okay, then we're gonna move over to Marvelous Designer. We're gonna say File, Import, FBX, selecting the FBX. Making sure animation is checked, right? Making sure everything else is checked, and centimeters for DazStudio are selected. And we're gonna import it. And now, this is honestly everything we need. We don't need anything else to simulate the garment. So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna run with that. Gonna turn this into monochrome mesh. I'm gonna put the timeline down for now. And as promised, I will record this part. So as mentioned before, if possible, we want to show the arrangement points. If they are there, they're going to be super helpful. So let's try and use them, right? And same with the back part, obviously. Let's just make sure this is a little bit up. Let's bring this up a little bit. I think we should probably just leave those there. They look really, really good, so let's leave them here. And I think except for the upper body, let's just although, you know what, let's do this. Let's do this. So, like this. Let's bring this up a little bit. That's probably a good idea. Let's bring this a little bit down, just so it fits well. And I think same here. As before. Let's bring this up a little bit. Okay, and now let's mark all of these different pieces and make sure they ideally simulate at the same time. And we can also turn off the arrangement points now. So unfreeze this, right? And let's just hit this. Oh, this is great. And we can already see that some things are not working so well. So we will get to that in a second, right? And I'm actually gonna turn this back into don't need this right now. I think I want to turn this back into the actual base fabric. So the base fabric that sometimes, or not sometimes, that always comes with base fabric. That's actually the best fabric to do anything with, really, right? This is like the fabric you always want to use because it helps. It really does help. Like, I might sound crazy to you right now, but it really does help, I promise. And so doing the same here, right? All the different pieces, just making sure they're being... Actually, yeah, you know what? Why not? Let's just unfreeze unfreeze everything, right? Maybe not quite ready for the we're not quite ready for the skirt part, so let's make sure this is like actually still deactivated in every kind of circumstance. But yeah, let's again simulate, right? And it's a really good fabric to work with and get like the shape right and everything. So yeah, I think we would want to stay with this. Also, something that I realized is like kind of sad that we don't have the same line in here. So I was thinking, and I hope you don't mind, Astroporcelain, but I was thinking it would be really nice to make this also an offset. So I was just, I will be just this person who does this without asking, and hopefully not get totally blamed for this. So yeah, I think let's do this, right? I think this is, by the way, the offset was probably a centimeter, 109. Okay, so let's do this here as well. I think let's go here and let's do offset as internal line, right? And 1.09. Let's do the same thing, right? And let's immediately take this line essentially and let's just make sure that everything here is being selected and cut and sew. So that's like very much, yeah, I think that's better in the sense of it, you know, now it's making sense in form of the design. The only thing we obviously have to take care of is that this is not looking as good as we imagined it to. So there's a kind of an easy fix for it, which has to do with undoing a little bit of sewing and getting it back up there. But also I really want to start taking a look at the upper body because you can already tell here that I really want to try and show this. So there is a lot of like, there's like this thingy going on, it's like flickering. And I think it comes from too much pressure, but I might be wrong with this, right? So I'm just gonna try and take a look at it now. But actually pressure looks fairly, yeah, okay. So here it becomes more evident, right? There are a few things I think we should fix. One is, I think we have to take this up a notch, like literally, because this is like hanging in her crotch. So we should probably do that. Here it's getting wider while this is super tight fit. As I mentioned before, I think the best solution for that is, one thing is like, you know, rounding out this curve. The other version could be, hey, let's make this actually a closed top and then cut into it. And I think that would be actually the best solve, right? Because then we can even add more cuts if we, you know, want to. Because right now everything is very organic, but design-wise, which makes me like a little bit doubt the design, is the fact that everything is like trying to show some like organicness to it, like, you know, this cutout, these like really nice wavy lines, but then all of this is like super rigid. So I think we should try and redo this part. And this is why I'm doing this also on this video, Alex, because if you don't like it, then we're just gonna abolish this and we pretend like this never happened, right? So the way to do this, right, because we want to do quite a little bit of undoing, so we have to do it in a little bit of a manual way. So we're just gonna merge those. I just select one line and you select the other line and you merge them together. And okay, that's good. And we can also tell that, you know, there's been quite a discrepancy in how this pattern looks like. So that's also, I think, a problem that happened with the fit up there. And we're gonna fix all of this, so don't worry. Another merge. Let's ton of merges happening right here, right now, and another merge. So Okay, so now all of this is merged back into one. And yeah, I think one thing is definitely, probably we should also make this line like wavy. But we don't have to do it while, you know, like there are more options than just doing this by thingy. So I'm thinking right now if it might be better to yeah, I think so. I think the more free solve we will have with this is if we pattern ensuing. Okay, so I think what we could do is we could just essentially draw on here. That's one fix, right? The other fix could potentially be, let me actually figure, I have gloves in here, I have the pants, this is not needed. If that's, I don't have a lot of garments in here, to be honest, so I think we just quickly gonna make this. I think that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. So the way to do this fast and fairly precise is by, and let's, you know, get to a new tool as we're already on it, right? Let's get to this tool. This is the one I wanted. Line on avatar, right? So with this you can draw lines on the avatar itself, which is so helpful. And yeah, just like try and, you know, there's a, like, obviously, right, we need to fix a lot of things after this and so on and so forth, but to a certain degree this will be a pretty good pretty good guide, to be honest, and it would give a fairly good fit, which is sometimes everything that matters, right? So let's flatten this area. That's the next tool you need to use, and press enter so it translates into a pattern piece. And you can already tell this is a horrible looking pattern piece, isn't it? And it's also upside down. I'm just realizing it's also upside down. So a few things we can fix right here, right now. We need to wait. Let's do this. Okay. So a few things we need to fix right here, right now is we need to look at the curve points, because there are a ton of curve points on here, and most of them we really need to get rid of. Honestly, all of them. We need this to be flat, and we need this to be straight. So let's get this down here. Again, let's go to edit curve points. So shortcut is, by the way, is V, and going back to edit pattern is Z. So those two are fairly important to remember. And so we kind of want to delete everything that is happening here, because we don't need anything of this to be like that. We only need one curve point and this whole line to shape out the neck, more or less, right? And important about that is that this section in front here is building a 90-degree angle. That is kind of like the only thing that really matters, to be honest. So putting this up here, and I'm doing it the way I'm doing this because I at some point, you know, I learned how to do it. So it certainly helps if you know how patterns are supposed to roughly look like. I mean, I'm not saying I'm doing this like really finely and nicely, right? There are definitely people who will do this so much better than I do, but it just suffices for, you know, building this out. So here goes the same thing, right? And we might want to consider actually switching again, dragging this down, switching again, dragging this down. So I think actually this one doesn't need a curve. This one does, but again, one would be pretty much good enough. So the more it goes to the waist, right? So maybe let's put in something here. I also feel this is a little bit too white at this point, but I might be wrong about it. I think I'm actually not wrong. Maybe I'm not wrong. Okay, I think that's not terrible. One thing I want to do though is pulling this up a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, this looks good. This looks good, but might want to stretch this out a little bit further and push this out a little bit more. Okay, I think we're actually good on the top, right? This is a fairly decent top. We can then cut pieces from, which will be nice. And yeah, let's do symmetry, right? That's a good idea. Let's saw this together. So that's also good and nice. And let's use this, copy this essentially, and use this as like the back pattern. Also at this stage, what we can definitely do is go into added line and get rid of all of those, right? Because we don't need them anymore. So let's get rid of them. That's great. Okay, this is good. So let's do the back part. So what I'm just gonna do is just gonna copy one of them, right? Copy, paste, and yeah, let's just flip this over essentially and put this onto the back. And I'm pretty sure like other people have figured out how to do this much nicer and much faster again. I'm very, very sure about that. Yeah, and the first thing I usually do is I don't change anything. I just create the symmetry pattern, right? And what I do, and like again, right, this is like really quick and dirty, but it's sometimes this is just, you know, this is how you do it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So now we have this, right? And it's not fitted and no nothing. But now we have like a bit of an idea on how this comes together. And also let's sew together the back. We can already tell a few things from that. We can tell that, of course, we don't need that kind of cutout in the back, right? So let's get this up. Let's switch to curve again. Let's make this a very, very slight curve only. And also let's add a curve in the back, because the back actually has an, you know, kind of like a shape. So let's adhere to that shape a little bit. That's one thing. The other thing is that I think our color is a little bit white in general. Is not ideal, I think. And let's just try this out. Yeah, it's quite the white color, so I'm not necessarily happy with that. So I want to change that a little bit. And also I want to change the, this has to go way tighter. Okay, so let's switch this first. Let's switch this up. So I think taking this in way more seems like a really good idea. Also, you know, we won't have now the same attach size, so I just want to make sure. So this is like 7.75, right? So I want to change this. I just want to make sure that this is also 7.75, and then, you know, go from here. That makes sense. Actually, no, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to take this in. I wanted to do it the different direction. So 7.75, but then not from start, but from end. So the other way around, so that that part on the sleeve gets tucked in a little bit. So now this looks already a little bit better, but still not quite as good as I would want it to look like. Okay, definitely better. Not quite there yet though, but better. Okay, then another part is cutting out the sleeve opening in the back way wider, right? Because usually that part needs like more, well, not so much more, let's just say. I think that should be okay, shouldn't it? I feel like the whole width of this is a little bit off, so I'm just gonna think like this, and then we will make this, we will actually take this in quite a bit. 1, 2, 3. So I think like this it becomes much more like fitted. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. And then obviously connecting the seams here and there, making sure hopefully it fits more or less well. So it fits quite well. Let's take a look on a strain map. So that's okay, right? That's actually oh, okay, that's fairly good. Yeah, okay, we can just take it like this. So it's okay. That's actually not terrible. I figured we would need to do some more stuff to it, but we didn't. That's actually fairly great. Okay, so the next step would be let's just get those for now out of the way until we need it for referencing again. So the next part is fitting this obviously to the pants, and the pants are like really too tight up here as well. So because we already have such a great fit for this part of the body from the top part now, we're just going to use that as a reference. So our top left, right, it has 19.74 centimeters width, and our front in comparison of the body, it's like 6.42 plus 6.29, which is only 12.71. So compared to, well, that's almost like, you know, 8 centimeters more. So I think we just really want to make sure that this gets adopted a little bit. So instead, I think what we want to do is we want to do a few things to the pants. One is we want to make that dart a little bit less crazy. So taking it up maybe to here. And the other part is this dart is fairly wide. So let's give this a little bit less of a width. And now let's look at this. So this is 14. So let's say we have like a little bit more to go each side. So change length. And we're just going to say, actually no, we are not going to change the length. We're just going to select this, drag this, and click right mouse button. And then we can type in a distance move. So let's just say this is like actually 2 centimeters, okay. And this one is maybe 1 centimeter or 1.5. Okay, I think that could be a good idea. let's see and take a look. This is going somewhere. Okay, I can tell this is going somewhere. Also, we're going to turn this one into a curve point. Right, so now we can go switch again to V mode. Again, let's get rid of all the ones that we really don't need. Let's always keep curve points to like a bare minimum, okay? The curve points are a hurdle to work with. So let's keep them as minimal as we can. And also, let's make sure to pull this up a little bit in the front. So front and back trouser patterns, they actually vary greatly in that regard, right? Front is usually shorter, back is usually longer. Also, let's make sure to set in a curve point somewhere here. Oh, wait, what is doing? Oh, wait. This is not what I wanted. No, this is not what I want. Okay, let's save this. Not losing any progress here. Okay. Not sure why it's giving like so many. It's like fairly crazy. Not quite sure why this is the case. There's quite the extreme angle going on, and I'm not sure why this is a thing. But for now, let's just use what we have. Let's go back to like one previous version where this was not entirely crazed. Okay, let's take this one and let's symmetrize. So this is already getting a slightly better. We obviously need to do the same fix on the back, right? That's kind of important. So yeah, let's before going to the back, because this already looks yeah, it's definitely a better fit now. Okay. So one thing we want to do is we're going to use the MNN free sawing, and let's get this part attached to this part, and we're already going to be one step ahead of things, which is always nice. So let's do this also to the other side. Tip. Okay, so now let's do this exact same thing to the back part. This is the next little hurdle to do, but it's okay. It's okay. So here we definitely have to reshape the pants a little bit. That's one part, but also let's do the same thing as before and actually do measure the width here. The width is 17.74 and should be a nice fit. It's also mostly blue here, so it should be fine. Okay, 17.74. Let's try this. So here we are already at 16, so we are not missing a lot. In this case, I think the really like extensive pressure on this pants really comes from that this one is actually not positioned well, and also the oh, sorry, so much I feel really ashamed right now. So yeah, I think part is positioning this a little bit more here, more here is always so helpful, isn't it? And also, yeah, this is again happening, and I'm not quite sure why, but we're gonna get rid of it. And then that happened. That wasn't planned. So let's make a split. That's good enough. Wait, what? Split. Let's say a uniform split. Okay, that's good enough. To get this here, and let's make another split, a uniform split. Let's get this up here, and now the only thing missing, theoretically at least, is I completely messed up everything on the way, is getting in a curve, obviously. And yeah, it's still like giving this like really harsh angle, but we're gonna fix it this time, because this time it actually matters, right? So that is, and yeah, trying to get this as curved, but also in the upper area as straight as possible, kind of really matters. And making sure that we still have enough. So now it has taken a little bit of a toll on us. But one thing obviously we should definitely do again is taking the dart in by a lot. And you can tell, right, I'm doing this very much like on a whim. So 17.56, I think we're not too far off from what we actually wanted. That is absolutely entirely great enough So let's see how this is conducting itself. So that is good. The only thing that is not so good is this part. And I'm not quite sure why this is even happening. So let's quickly investigate. I think one part is okay. We should definitely get rid of all the sawing here, because obviously it's been coming around the corner, the sawing. So okay, let's do this. Some free sawing. So middle, left, right, and so that should be fine. And then we do the same thing, middle, right, and this time down here. So I think that should have been working well. And the other one we need to reconnect is this one with this one. So I think, yeah, should work fairly well. So now we have a pretty good fit. I'm just debating, I think this one is not fitting so well. So that's something to again look at. Yeah, this is giving me a really horrible time. So I think at this stage, we're not going to care for this too much, because this is something we can adjust once the pose is finished. This is why I'm not going to care too much about it right now. Another thing although we really want to make sure of is, and let's get the strain map out of the way. Let's make this thick again. Okay. So another thing to take care of is, in my opinion, this front part that's not conducting so well in behavior. So I think that's an issue. Also, I think now's the time to actually merge this with this side. So let's merge, because why not? Right, so that is good, okay. Actually, no, let's not merge this yet, because we need to symmetrize whatever we are gonna do here if we're gonna do something. But I think we can actually fix that with fabric. So this is another reason I'm not being super accurate right now. So let's try and fix this now with fabric. That is the next actual task. So the little fit issues that we do actually have, we might just be good fixing it through fabric. So this is what we want to try and do, I think. So let's go into the library, fabric, and let's, actually we could just thinking, we could just merge this down, merge to new fabric. I'm curious how this is supposed to work. Maybe it's not working, or maybe it's just not working for me, which is fine. Okay, let's just first try this out a little bit. So I think what I would want to do is selecting a preset. So in our case, I think we decided for the silk knit jersey. So let's try this. Right, so this already did something really good, although it's not doing it all the way, right? But one part is definitely also making really sure that all of this is quadrangulated. So let's remesh all of it at once, because why not? And from there, also trying to take this into I'm wondering if it would be nice to have sleeves, but I also want to stick as much as we can to your design, so maybe just ignoring sleeves for now. Oh, and now I remember we really wanted to make sure and refit these parts and resaw them. So I think now is a good time for it. Yeah, everything is now quad mesh, so that's good. Okay, let's check actually the sawing lines. then let's make sure this is a little bit further spread away. Oh, it's a little bit too much. Yeah, so I think actually this is good. Okay, let's let's actually get rid of the sewing lines. I think they got a little bit distorted, I can tell here from before. And sometimes resewing things really helps to make sure everything fits well. And yeah, I'm also just really want to get rid of those and make sure they're just, yeah, I think that's a good idea actually. Yeah, I think that was probably a good thing to do. Here the same thing, just making sure, right? It's probably nothing, but just making sure we have the right, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, M&N sewing, and let's do this because why not? I was nervous about this because usually I mess it up. Oh, I didn't mess it up. Oh, that's a new one. Okay, then it's this one and this one. And then it's okay, see, this was a mess up. I can already tell. Okay. Why do I keep messing this one up? What is wrong with me? So, in case you have the same trouble, right? There is a solution for this, which is just sewing this here in the 3D window. Because I'm honestly, like, I'm so terrible with this. I'm not quite sure how someone can be as terrible with this as I am, but see, even in the 3D window, I'm messing this up, so that should probably make people aware of the madness. So yeah, just making, just making sure. I think I caught everything. The only thing that we need to manually attach are the little strings. But they should definitely fit so much better now, I hope. So yeah, let's do this now. I think we have to adjust this a little bit to make this fit better. But theoretically, this is how it should work. We also need to make sure this gets pulled up better. So I'm pretty sure we need to cut some stuff here. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure how much. And I think we can judge this so much better once it's in pose. But one thing that is for sure is we have this, which is only 19.95, and we have this in the front, which is like, well, almost like 7 centimeters longer. So I think that's definitely part of it. So my assumption would be if we shorten this, actually we're gonna probably have a much better fit. Yeah, it's already so much better. Okay. Thinking more. Really need to fix this. But another part of fixing this is also making the particle distance of these tiny pieces definitely so much smaller. Because right now it's at 20, so I would put this at least down to 5, I think. And yeah, definitely fixing up these thingies here. Because they obviously, that looks fairly horrible. So we want to fix that. And thinking. I think something else we should probably fix is this, right? So I'm thinking right now, best way to fix this is probably by pulling this actually out a little bit. And maybe, just maybe, yeah, the part is also, we can play with some values. What I definitely don't want to do is trying to put in a dart here, because that's not gonna work with the design well. And one last thing I really want to check, because we have some ruffles here. Well, I think that's a good enough way on having a garment to start working on for next session. And I will do some minor, shuffling here, but nothing major. And yeah, see you on the other side.